All right, welcome everyone to our container security group discussion. Looks like today we don't have very many agenda items, just the one that I added. So I just wanted to go over and do a quick review of what we have planned for 13.2, especially with the adjustments and allocation for this group. Especially I wanted to confirm with you, Tiago, our plans for what we feel like we're going to be able to work on this iteration. I noticed that for the policy issues, for the implementation ones, that you put them all, I think it was either in 13.3 or 13.4. Let me pull up our board to double check. I wanted to see if you felt like we were going to be able to get to any of those in 13.2. Keep this direction label off. So I think if I come into the policy epic, which we do now have final designs from Andy, which is great. So I think we're in a really good spot there. I just wanted to check because all of these implementation ones were marked 13.3 and 13.4. So I just wanted to check and see, do you see us getting to any of that in 13.2 at all, or are we fully booked?
Possibly. So if I remember correctly, the last time I organized these were way before the start of the iteration. So I was being sort of just spread the goodness around a few iterations. So we might be able to pull some.
Okay.
I've added an item to the agenda, and apologies for not doing it before the meeting. But we'll get to the planning breakdown. So did you wanna review the backlog first, or do you wanna have a look at this planning breakdown?
I did. So I posted this new issue, this planning issue in the Slack channel, but I also wanted to just discuss it real briefly in this meeting as well, just to see if there was any additional feedback, especially from you, Arthur, and Zamir, who's not here at the moment. But you know, right now we've got things spread. Some things are issues, some things are epics. You know, we've got like the high level priorities are spread all over the place. And so the intent of this was just to have one single place where you can go to know, you know, what is the current priority coming from product management and what's the next thing to work on. So I wanted to get any feedback that you had on this.
Just to add to this, Sam, for anyone wondering why we created this, it's because the epics feature in GitLab doesn't support showing epics in the board. So if you want to prioritize an epic above everything else, there's no way to communicate that using just the board. So this issue is a bit of a stopgap measure until we have that built into GitLab.
Right, and even further complicating it is that some of these are epics and some of these are issues. Like this bug, for example, is just an issue, whereas we're using epics for other things like, you know, create and edit, delete policy management is a bigger feature, so that has an epic.
Yeah. With the previews that I've seen for the group by epic in the board, that would be handled, because then you can see a mix of issues and epics in the board, and then if you turn on and off the epic, then the issues just get organized by priority as usual.
Got it. So yeah, Arthur, I guess I know Tiago has already seen this a lot. Just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Is this helpful? Is this not helpful?
I have seen it. I don't think it's helpful to me personally. I usually I need to know what to do in the iteration, and then once I get into the iteration, I just focus on my issues, and I know my priorities on for what I'm working on before. So I see that it will be useful for Tiago, for example. If I will stop or finish something a bit earlier, he will get a source of information about what should we prioritize next. So overall, it's helpful. Maybe not for me personally, but for the group, it's definitely will be helpful.
All right. Well, thanks for that feedback. And then I had just a couple of questions, just a couple coordination questions. So this adoption and usage metrics one, I think we marked as done. I'm curious, and I can post this on the issue too, but I'm wondering, has anyone actually looked to see if we can get this data all the way through and into our Sisense dashboards or Periscope dashboards? Or if we just verified that we're reporting it as part of the usage ping and kind of ended off there?
I believe I posted a screenshot of the ping metrics. Yeah. So the numbers are cut down. I didn't want them on.
Sure.
Yeah. They weren't all zero. That's all I'm going to say on the public video. So there are things pinging in. I don't know if it's the volume you expect. I don't know how to validate that. Maybe we can take it offline and
maybe we'll take
have
this
a look at it together.
Okay, that's good. So we can actually get a report of the numbers. So that's. Yeah. I guess I didn't realize you blocked this out, so I saw this and I was a little bit confused.
I should have mentioned. Yeah. Now I'm looking at it. If you're not familiar with that, it's not obvious at all that I've redacted it. And the second part of your question, maybe Lindsay knows. I do not know. I assume that this does end up in Periscope, but I wouldn't know how to find out. Do you, Lindsay?
I could do a little bit of digging. I mean, there's a table explorer in Periscope. So if you know where the target tables are, you can write some queries against them. I'm happy to spend a little bit of time with you in our one-on-one after this, looking at it, Tiago.
Oh, yes, please.
Cool.
I need to get my editor access. You need to be an editor, right, to see that?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, I'll do that.
So we'll look at it in a half hour, an hour, or whatever.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And then I guess the last question here is mostly for Tiago that I had is, right now I've got these target releases and I know I piled everything pretty much into 13.2. Given this prioritization, are there any of these that are just definitely not happening in 13.2 that you're pretty much 100% confident that they're not making it, that we should move out to like 13.3 or later?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head, Sam.
That's fair.
Do you want to wait while I have a look, or do you want me to give you a shout after this?
Yeah, that's okay.
Put it
we
on the
can
channel.
Talk about it afterwards. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it on the channel.
Okay. Well, thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
I can at least answer from my stuff. I definitely can do that in 15.2. The rest, I'm not sure. There are unassigned
4 and 5.
Yep. Sorry, we have created the edit delete policy management unassigned. I think we definitely won't be able to finish it in 15.2 because we haven't started and we're just refining it. And it's a really large one. I think the overall weight of all the issues will be around 20, I would assume, somewhere in that area. So it's more than a single iteration, definitely for us.
Got it. Okay, so I'll at least move that one out to 13.3, and I'll look for your comment asynchronously in the channel on the others, Tiago.
Yeah, I expect some of that to go on 13.2, but yeah, I think you're right, Arthur. Unlikely that we'll have everything in. We'll know after we finish with the breakdown and refinement.
Cool. Thanks for syncing up with me. I guess I just realized the only other item that I might mention is just kind of a heads up for the future. So once we get done with this body of work, the next big thing is to start creating an alert dashboard. Right now, I'm just, for transparency, I'm in the very beginning stages of putting together a survey that we can send out to get some additional data points and help provide some information on that. And Andy is going to focus on threat insights with Matt. So our designer for container security is now going to be Kyle. And Kyle is starting to take a look at the those upcoming issues, including alert management as well. So just a heads up that we're starting some research and design work in that area.
Thank you. I was wondering who the new face on the board was.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time today.
There's one more.
Let me know if you have any other questions. Yeah, go ahead.
I do. Can you bring up the agenda item, the planning breakdown issues? The second link there. So the first one is the one that Zamir has been working on it, and there were 2 tasks that we hit that discussion about the scope of pod security policies, where Zamir was saying a pod security policy applies to the whole cluster, and then Arthur found security context that can reduce that context to just a pod. But then the reply from Zamir was that actually it's more complicated than that. So I figured let's take a step back and figure out what we want to do with those 2 items. So to be clear,
yeah. So I was a little surprised to see this because we haven't done any UX. My understanding and assumption was that we would just have it all configured in YAML files as part of the cluster management project.
Yeah, and that was the plan. The reason this was Zamir thinking out of the box and trying to come up with a solution, just to propose something instead of just bringing, hey, I'm stuck. He came up with that. It's okay that we shouldn't be using it now. That's fine. But I think we still need to understand: do we have a problem with isolating the scope using just YAML files? Do we need to think of something else? Or as engineering, do we just need to dig a little bit more, research a bit more, and see if we can do YAML? So I don't know the answer. I just wanted to throw it out there. Arthur, have you picked up any of these since your last comment suggesting security context?
No, I honestly a bit confused, and I feel like after the last comment, I'm missing some context. So I will probably not comment any further at this stage. But to just clarify a bit to Sam, the policy, PSP's pod security policies are a bit unique in the way they deploy. They are cluster-wide by definition, but then they have to be linked to a specific namespace, for example. There are ways to link it to the pods too, but the problem is that it's cluster-wide, and I think Zamir mentioned that there are permission issues because auto-deploy is being deployed under the restricted account, and installing, I think, if I understand it correctly, is installing PSP cluster-wide policy from the AutoDevOps is hard because of that. And there are other problems because it's not just PSPs that we are interested in. We are also focusing on AppArmor policy loading. There are, I think, other comments related to that from Zamir. My personal opinion, it's better to handle if possible in UI that we're building for the network policies rather than creating a separate view. I think it's, from my understanding, it should be possible to resolve some of the issues Samir is saying by predefining policies, cluster-wide policies, along with service account. This is how you link to the namespace. It's a bit technically complicated, so I'm not gonna spend much time on that.
That would be in the YAML, Arthur.
Yeah, that will be in the YAML. But yeah, I agree with them. A bit more work is necessary, at least some workaround. It's not as straightforward as with network policies or ingress configuration for web application firewall.
So Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but the preference that we have right now is to avoid a solution that involves UX, because we're still doing work in that space, and we want to consider it a little bit more globally or consistently across the board. So if there is a solution,
Yeah.
even if it changes a little bit the requirements or creates some caveats, we would strongly prefer a YAML solution.
Correct. Yep, that is a fair summation. And it sounds like the challenges are mostly around installing pod security policies, if I understood Arthur right. And that actually makes me happy, because we will want to apply these at both the namespace and the pod levels. It's going to cause a number of complications if we're not able to do that. So I'm hopeful that functionality actually does exist within pod security policies, and there's just the hurdle around installation.
Yeah, it's I think, again, to emphasize, my understanding is that it's AutoDevOps specific, because AutoDevOps is using restricted account. Again, if you will go with the policy UI that we're building, account that we're using up there, it's less restricted and it has administrative permissions on the cluster. So we definitely have less problems up there. So I would say maybe just defer this decision until we have a policy built and maybe make it up there. You probably need to ask him. He has probably a bit more understanding, but that's what I think he's saying.
I think for Sam to, for us to allow Sam to make a call, we would need to investigate or propose or explain what the trade-off would be in terms of handling the permission issues on the AutoDevOps side. So if we're doing that through YAML, are we going to have to introduce a privileged account, or are we going to have a escalation of privilege, introduce anything like that in the framework that doesn't exist? So if that becomes a lot more work, then I think that would change Sam's decision. So my suggestion is that we take that back, Arthur. You and Zamir takes the lead on this, but I think he will appreciate and need your help on this. And then we come up with an offer to Sam, say, hey, here's what we found out. We can do YAML, but it's gonna take this, or we can wait and do on the UX and already use the stuff that's in there.
Yeah, that sounds great. I would definitely appreciate that added information to help with the decision process.
Coordinate. I've got a call with Zamir after this. We'll touch on that.
All right, just checking to see if we have any more items here. Anyone else have items to discuss in our group meeting?
Negative.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. I appreciate the time.